Andrea Kroeger.
Do you have everything you need?
Yes.
Whenever you're ready.
So I'm going to be doing my informative speech on Edgar Allan Poe. He was a Gothic writer in the 1800s, and his childhood actually was the foundation for the dark work that he produced as an adult. We're going to be focused on specifically how his birth to age 17 influenced his writing as an adult. Edgar Allan Poe was born in Boston to two actors. One was extremely successful, his mother, Elizabeth Poe, although his father, David Poe, was not successful whatsoever. He had a lot of critics at him, which ended up him drinking himself to oblivion, and he ended up completely disappearing, leaving Edgar's mother alone with two children by herself. She made the decision to go to Richmond, Virginia for acting work, to be able to provide for her family, and there ended up having a third child, getting sick with tuberculosis and passing away when Edgar was a young child. Luckily, she was communicating with really close friends of hers, and they were kind enough to be able to take her children into foster homes, unfortunately separating them. John and Valentine Ellen became Edgar Allan Poe's foster parents, and in that family, he was a happy child. The first tragedy that he had was losing his biological parents. Although he was young, it really did not affect him much, because his foster parents were kind, but they were also successful and wealthy, so Edgar had a lot of opportunities to be able to do a lot of things that he enjoyed and be able to find out what he liked. Throughout his childhood and teens, he also did have a lot of opportunities. When he was a child, there was the beginning and the end of the War of 1812. And his foster father was a Scottish merchant who was self-made, so he was looking for opportunities for foreign trade overseas. So he decided to move the family to England. So Edgar Allan Poe moved to England at age 6 and was attending a school. Unfortunately, his mother got sick, so his father moved him into a boarding school where he had a lot more opportunities, but was also extremely spoiled. He ended up getting a lot of allowances and pocket money to do things that he enjoyed, so he never really saw that behind the scenes, his father was losing a lot of money, and they didn't really know what to do or how to get back to the U.S. However, they did end up 6 years later returning to the U.S. when Edgar was 12 years old. Behind the scenes, John Allan was losing money, but Edgar was never raised in the state of poverty, and it was always protected from it. And while he was at the boarding school, he excelled in languages. He was learning French fluently. He was doing history, he was doing literature, and he was excelling at all of it. However, when he turned about between the ages of 15 and 17, he really started to experience some actual grief or loss in his life. A very close friend of his mother actually passed away, which I think affected him, realizing that his mother also passed away from tuberculosis when he was young. He also fell in love and ended up getting engaged at the age of 17 to a 15-year-old girl. And he started to get into a university that actually enjoyed and would excel at for literature. However, when he was actually at school, he found out that he did not have any money whatsoever and could not afford it at all. So he ended up going into a lot of debt, going back home, realizing his family completely disowned him and couldn't afford to give him anything, and the love of his life, his fiancée, ran away and ended up marrying another man as well. So how does that actually affect his writing? William Wilson is actually one of the essays that he wrote. It's between two personalities that are fighting against each other, almost like a wealthy one and a impoverished one. The Mask of Red Death is another one that he wrote, which is specifically about tuberculosis. The Mask of Red Death kind of explains that both his mother and his foster mother died of tuberculosis. And then his most common one, The Raven, is obviously about grief and mourning, which I don't believe is something that he was able to process when he was a child. So like I said, poverty, sickness, and grief, they were stapled around his childhood, and I believe that really influenced his writing as an adult. So in conclusion, when he was born, he was loved and was very much appreciated, and he dealt with grief that he didn't know, I don't believe, really knew how to deal with. Throughout his childhood, he was happy and he was raised well and he was very protected by poverty. And in his teens, that's where really things started to happen that affected him for the rest of his life. So that, in conclusion,